have a guy by the name of Peter Landon, who has been our president for nearly 2 years, who does an excellent job at that. So let me I have the pleasure of introducing Peter. Peter works for Trans Group, and I'll bring Peter out right now to do our announcement. Peter.
Hi, thank you. Thank you all for joining. I'm hoping we get to 57 who signed up. That'd be fun. It's been a crazy year, as everybody knows. I'll take off my glasses there, Brian. Everybody knows it's been a crazy year and very difficult to keep in front of everybody for yet another Zoom meeting. Nice to see. I believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not an oncoming train. So I'm hoping that by summer, we're hoping August possibly they have an actual live event outdoors, the golf tournament, we're hoping. So I'm hoping you'll continue to join our Zoom meetings. We're trying to have a speaker that's relevant to our industry and what's happening in the world. And we have a fantastic one today. I think it's gonna be very interesting for everybody. I'm excited about it. So please keep watch for upcoming events. We're gonna have a speaker next month on cybersecurity and some of the issues that are happening in the video conferencing world, as well as in our transportation and digital age that we live in. So watch for that coming up in April. And then I'm going to turn this over to Keisha, one of our new directors, who is wonderful enough to set up this speaker piece for us. And I'm going to turn over for Keisha for the introduction of Tony.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you everyone for joining. This is a proud moment for myself because this ask happened over a year ago, pre-pandemic, and I had simply just text Tony and asked him, I need a favor. And he simply called within 5 minutes and he said, how can I help? And I asked him, I said, do you mind flying out to Los Angeles and being a keynote speaker for us? And without hesitation, he said, I'll be there and let me know what you need. And that's just a further testament of Tony's character and his dedication to commitment. We've all read his bio. We see all the accolades that he has. And really what it speaks to is the way he knows how to execute. He had a successful career in the NFL for 11 years. He transitioned into launching his own business, HNM Enterprise, to where he initially started off in real estate investments. But then it led into him really being the forefront, the cornerstone of really revitalizing the Orlando downtown, and then further launching him into the freight forwarder world. What also sets the stage for him being a successful minority-owned business. And then also really valuing mentoring other businesses and coaching them. But for me, what really speaks to Tony is his mentorships and giving back to the community, where he successfully launched and ending his hometown city, Dunkin' Donuts franchise, to where he is really focused on at-risk youth. And that's just a further testament of Tony's times and his attitude of, I can do this. There is no such thing as I need more time. He's an example of we make time for what's important. So without further ado, I am so honored and so thankful. And I hope that everyone really listens to how Tony perseveres. Not only pivots, but he understands strategy and tactical thinking and forward thinking. So without further ado, Tony, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Keisha. And thanks to the LA Air Cargo Association. I'm just honored to have the opportunity to connect with you guys today. And when I spoke with Keisha, she said, I said, how long should we talk for? And she said, 30 to 40 minutes. And I got a lump in my throat. And I said, I've been reading this book. It's called TED Talks. And you all know about the TED Talks, and they're 18 minutes. So I'm going to turn my clock on right now. And if I get to 25 minutes, then I've gone way over the 18 minutes. So definitely slow me down, okay? Needless to say, I see this as a pretty wild group because I heard some of the conversation pre the start of the meeting. So I'll keep it clean, but we may do a little bit of locker room talk, have some fun with it, okay? Hopefully everyone can hear me. It's a little difficult too when you're doing it like this because you don't have that reaction of the crowd, and you know when you're doing good or you know when you're just totally bombing. But we're gonna have some fun with this. I want to first do a little a pitch for my company. Again, I'm Tony McGee, President and CEO of HNM Global Logistics. We do importing, exporting, custom brokerage, warehousing, and distribution. We have a 50,000 square foot headquarters here in Orlando, Florida. We have I wanted to actually start a business out in LA because we have a lot of freight that comes in there. But I'm a very liberal guy, but your work employment laws are just too liberal for my taste. So needless to say, I couldn't really start a business. But we have a great partner out on the Los Angeles coast. One of the things that, as I told you what we do, the other thing that I didn't mention that we do is at this point, with what's going on with the pandemic, is whatever our customer needs done as it's related to logistics. And I think you guys can all understand that. We just had to roll our sleeves up, get creative, and think outside the box, be forward thinking, be progressive in our approach, and make sure that we're solving problems for our customers. I'll give you a great example of that. Red Bull is one of our customers. They've been on board for about 4 or 5 years. And we do all the events for Red Bull in Central Florida. So we warehouse all their equipment. We take it, we set it up, we do the strike, we take it down, we clean it, and we put it back in storage. That's gone superb for the last 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden, that came to a screeching halt. So we have guys that deliver for Orange County Public Schools. We took those guys, took them off to Orange County Public Schools, and they had to start doing product deliveries for Red Bull. Red Bull never let us do product deliveries in the past because they had all these contracts. Things happen, the customer had a need. We just made sure that we were there to fulfill that need, like I'm sure all of you guys do as well. Again, that's what it's all about in the world that we're operating in now, is whatever it takes to get the job done. Again, with the air freight the way it is, you guys probably know better than I know what it takes to get the job done, because we are partners in this event. I did want to spend a little bit of time and tell you guys about how I made the venture from the NFL into freight forwarding, because when you're in the NFL, you're not sitting there thinking, I want to go and be a freight guy. So for me, it really all started back in college. I had the privilege of going to the great University of Michigan, and that was back when we won a lot of games. I was upstairs today, and I figured your speaker last year couldn't pull out a Michigan Wolverine helmet that's a little beat up. But you can see I was laying licks on people, okay? Needless to say, I had to add a little prop there. When I went to Michigan, they said to us, let's win the Big Ten championship and everything else will be okay. So 3 out of 4 years, we won the Big Ten championship. We got to go to the great granddaddy of them all, Rose Bowl. In 1993, we won the Rose Bowl. But, I started thinking about that. And there was something in that picture that just wasn't right. We did everything we were supposed to do, but it wasn't enough. And does anybody know what that was? And I know you guys really can't speak back for me. So I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to answer the question. So don't think I'm crazy when I'm doing that, okay? All right. So the reason why I'm not satisfied with that is because we never won the national championship. And that wasn't a goal. And I said to myself, I'll make sure that whenever I'm in charge of a group of people or I'm leading something, I'm not going to undershoot. I'm going to make sure we go for it all. So when I started H&M back in 2010 is when we really started doing the freight forwarding. I came out in the beginning and said, hey, guys, we want to be a $100 million company. We're 10 years into it. We're still not there yet. So we got a long way to go. But you know what? We're going to make sure we don't undershoot that goal. And when it's all said and done, why are we working? Why do you guys go to work every day? To make money. And there's nothing wrong with talking about that, because if you talk about it, then you're going to be about it. You're going to think about it. You start to visualize, you start to see it, and then it comes to fruition. But again, that's the culture that you want to permeate throughout all of our organizations, because guess what? If we're making money, our customers are making money. When you know what? When a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what it's all about. So after Michigan, I went to the NFL. I got drafted number 37 overall by the Cincinnati Bengals. Played there for 9 years. After that, I went to the Dallas Cowboys. played there for a year and a half, and I finished with the New York Football Giants. So the average, does anyone know how long the average career is? Again, I can't hear you guys, so I'm going to ask a question and I'm going to answer the question. Yes, you guessed it, 3.5 years. Why is it 3.5 years? Okay, I'm talking to myself again. It's because benefits start at 4 years. So from a business perspective, within 4 years, you want to get people off the books, okay? Again, it's all about the numbers. And I'm going to touch back on that a little bit later in my points, all about the numbers. So needless to say, when you go to the NFL, the one thing I learned is that it's best to reach out and make connections and build relationships while you're playing, because everyone returns your call when you're playing. But when you're a former athlete, they kind of return your call when they feel like it. So you got to strike while the iron's hot. You got to build that network, build those relationships. I heard a great story from a Los Angeles great, Magic Johnson. He said that when he was playing, he went and asked for a list of the 25 most successful season ticket holders. He called and invited all of them out to lunch. He said all of them accepted, naturally. And he went out and he got the chance to really pick their mind about business and really learn. And now being an athlete, we're about 3 or 4 generations into athletes that have, significant amount of money. There's no excuse for you not to be successful, because we have the examples, we have the blueprint, we have the model. One of the things that I suggest to people is do a franchise. Why is that? Because athletes are very good at taking a playbook and executing. Well, when you do a franchise, it's a playbook of exactly how to run a business. So it has everything from P&L, executive overview, SWOT analysis, numbers, on and on and on. So that's one of the things I've encouraged young players to do in terms of mentoring them is get a franchise. It won't cost you too much. You can learn the business process. Okay, so when you're playing, most guys fall into 1 or 2 categories. Either they have a whole lot of options when they finish playing, or they've only been a guy that's about football, partying, and having fun. They don't have very many options. I fell into the first one that I mentioned. When I finished playing, and Keisha mentioned it in my bio, all these different things I was doing. And, some of them I did well, and, some of them I was marginal at best. And when you have 5 or 6 activities, a restaurant, a radio show, doing television, a sports complex, and real estate, I think I did well in the real estate, and all the rest of them outside of Dunkin' Donuts, they didn't really do that well. One of the things about football players is we always want to remain relevant, because when you're in regular life outside of professional sports, there's nothing you can do that's going to replace the feeling of having 70,000 people scream when you do something. You know what? When you guys get a great shipment or do something for a client, we'll clap around the office and have some fun, or we've got a bell we ring when we bring on new customers and things like that. But that's nothing compared to 70,000 people screaming because you scored a touchdown. So guys are in the quest to remain relevant. I went through that same development process. So I got my first real contract after I went through all my different little ventures, and I learned kind of what to do and I would learn what not to do. But I got my first major contract. It was with the city of Orlando, and it was on the Orlando Magic Arena. And it was doing FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Quite honestly, when I got the contract, I didn't even know what it was. And the only reason why I didn't know what FF&E was, the only reason why I got the contract, it was because I could put on a suit, I could speak fairly well, and I was able to market myself. But I got that contract because the city of Orlando does 35% of their business with minority-owned business. So what that was for me, it was a seed. And although I may not have been ready at the time, it was a seed that got me a contract that produced revenue, and we were able to take it and go from furniture, fixtures, and equipment into logistics. And that's what it's all about, is really giving someone a chance. Okay, so there's one thing I want to spend a little bit of time on with you guys today is minority business. And the reason why is because I think it's important we have a supplier base and a workforce that mimics society as a whole. Why is that? Because I think different than than Jim. I think different than Keisha, than Carly. And if we take all those different thought processes and we bring them together, we're going to be able to serve the people that look like me, Jim, Keisha, and Carly. And that's what you want. And it's proven that when you have a diverse supplier base that can provide, real-time solutions and think a little outside the box, when you have a diverse leadership team and a diverse workforce, those businesses do well. So needless to say, there are several different types of certification. You have the city county certification. Those mainly apply for the city that you're in. It's a little hard to get those outside that city. You have the state certification, self-explanatory. One certification I do want to speak with you guys about is the NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Council. That certification is with the Fortune 500 companies. That's not a requirement, that's a goal. And these companies, you got several of them that sit at $1 billion roundtable, and they have a goal of trying to get a certain amount of diverse participation. And now with everything going on from a political standpoint, and I know California, you guys out there are very liberal, you can really understand that. The last certification I'll talk about is a federal government certification. Anybody that knows anything about that is, and I've got a little story about Keisha's mom too with the federal government certification. But anybody that knows about that, that fits in 5 different classes. Federal government does not recognize race. They recognize small disadvantaged businesses. That's usually businesses that are under 500 people. So you've got several different classifications. You've got HubZone, which is, I won't go into all the different classifications, but you also have HubZone, you have Service Disabled Vet, you have 8A, you have Native American, and you have Woman-Owned. Those are and just regular small business. So we fit into one of them. So when I got this contract in 2010, I got this certification, and I'm in Washington, D.C. It's the MBDA, the Minority Business Development Agency. That's the federal government. So I go to this conference and I walk in and I meet a guy from Raytheon. I said, hey, my name's Tony McGee. I'm a certified minority-owned business. Let's do some work. The guy looked at me and said, son, don't ever start a conversation like that. Now, I'm Tony McGee, president and CEO of HNM Enterprises. We're a great company, and we just happen to be minority-owned. Okay? Needless to say, whenever I have the opportunity or a chance to work with a minority-owned business, I will give them a conversation. I am a champion. I'm not going to ask for something that I'm not willing to give. Okay, and I'll take my time out of my schedule to make sure that I set with this company. And if I can't work with them, I'm going to tell them what they need to do so they can work with me or someone bigger than me in the future. That's what it's all about. That's what you have to do. It's the right thing to do. Paying it forward, giving back. Really creating a legacy. Lastly, the next point I wanted to jump into is and pay attention to this, because I think this will really resonate with everyone. What's the secret to success in any business? Again, I'm talking to myself. Hey guys, I'm trying to make it as fun as possible, because just to have a big head guy sit here and talk, I'm sure it's not that entertaining for you guys. But the secret, I look at it as 3 things that are the most important things to business. First thing is numbers. You know what? You're born on a day, you're going to die on a day. Anything we do in life, it's about numbers. You come in at a certain time, you leave at a certain time. You make a certain amount of money, you have AP, you have AR, you start at a time. It all revolves around knowing, understanding, and managing your numbers. Each and every one on this call, I got a question for you. How many of you, when you get your paycheck, how many of you go over your paycheck, every line in it, FUTA, SUTA, 401k, and all that? Or do you just go to your bank account and see that the direct deposit hit? It's a rhetorical question. I don't expect an answer because I know I'm on the Zoom call. But again, think about it. It's your numbers. So I had I'm listening to MSNBC. I told you guys, I'm a little liberal. I don't want to make it political, but I'm listening to them, and they start talking about the difference between male and female pay. And so I said to myself, I went into my CFO and I said, hey, are our female managers making the same as our male managers? And she said, there's a little discrepancy. I said, let's get it fixed. So that was probably in October, January, we had that rectified. And it was because their tenure and how they were hired. So some people had more tenure, but we still, across the board, we made it the same. Again, I'm not going to preach something that I'm not willing to practice. In business, your employees, if you got an employee, they're not looking at their pay stub, can they manage? If they can't manage their own numbers, how are they going to manage your numbers? So that's something I would quiz my employees and ask them about it, because I had one of the ladies that was mad about her pay, and we had given her a raise to bring her up, and she didn't even know it. Now, she probably shouldn't be on the team, but she is, because she's pretty good in other areas. So numbers do matter, but they're not the end all be all. The next thing is service. Okay, we're in a service industry. We're a service country. We're not manufacturing things here. We're going to China, we're bringing them here, and we're providing that service for our end users and our customer. And it's a huge cycle when it comes to service. And I tell my team all the time that the one thing we don't want is somebody to have to say, where's my freight? The moment they have to say, where's my freight, we failed. The moment we fail, we lose a customer. The moment we lose a customer, people start losing jobs, because our customer is the one boss that can fire us all, because he can take his business and go up elsewhere. So here's what I asked my team to do. I said, you remember back in 2007, I'm 49 now. When you got that first iPhone, you remember you took it out of the box, it was wrapped all pretty, and you open it up and it had no buttons, and you just, how it made you feel. I want you to make your customers feel like that about the level of service that we're providing. If we do that on a consistent basis and provide solutions, competitive pricing, we won't lose them. And we've done a great job of retaining customers and expanding that relationship. Again, you guys probably already know this, but it's good for that reinforcement. And the last thing is process. I'm going to explain my process. My process is very simple. The process starts with yourself, and then you take that process onto the job. My process is I wake up every morning at 5:36, I pray, I meditate, and I work out. And the reason why I do that is because my body is the tool or instrument that I'm going to use to get me through the rest of the day. And if I don't service and maintenance that, I'm not going to be any good to any of my employees, my customers, or my family. So that's part of my process. And then when I get to the office, my process is very simple. What am I going to do to get better today? And I'm going to push each and every one of my team members to get at least one thing better every day. And if you get better at one thing every day over the course of 365 days, you start to make some improvement. You got 20 or 30 people doing that. Now you got a lot of positive things happening, rolling in the right direction. And let me tell you, when you do well and when you provide a high level of service, that's habitual. And it permeates and it resonates and it spreads. And that's what we want spreading in all of our different respective businesses. I've got a couple other things I'm going to touch on, and then we're going to wrap up. I'm going to check my time and see how well I'm doing here. I'm at 18:26, so I'm not doing too good. I got about another 5 minutes that I'll speak to you guys, and then we'll open it up. Hopefully we can have some real live discussion and go back and forth. If you guys got any questions for me, please. If you don't, I may have some for you, because there's a lot of great forwarders on here and air carriers, and there's something that can be learned. Okay. When the pandemic hit, what I like to say is we got hit with a trifecta. And the three issues that we had, and I'm sure all you guys had, was cost, capacity, and time frame. Let's just jump on the second one, capacity. Capacity, you didn't have containers to get the freight over here, so people start air freighting, right? Air freight then went up 8 to 10 times what it had been in the past. And then once you solve the cost and the capacity, you got your freight sitting off the Long Beach coast because you don't have truckers that can pick it up and get it delivered in a reasonable time frame. And guys, there's one simple solution to all that. Control the controllables. What can we control? We can't control the carriers. We can't control the capacity, but we can control the flow of information. We can control talking to our customers in advance, being progressive about what they're looking at from a pricing standpoint, letting them know that how capacity looks and to book it out. Don't get caught up in the Chinese New Year so your containers are getting rolled. And then giving them a realistic time frame. We can control the controllables. I like to make this analogy. When I'm at a restaurant and I'm hungry, I get mad. I get that hangry feeling. But when the waiter or waitress is bringing me water and bread and different things like that, I'm cool. When I don't hear from anybody for 30 minutes and I'm hungry, that's when I get frustrated. So again, communication is the one thing that we as a service provider can provide on a consistent basis that's going to make sure it'll smooth over everything. And the other thing that I did when the pandemic hit is I went in and I adjusted everyone's job description. So you had all your duties, and then it said other duties as assigned, because I had to ask people to do things that were outside of their normal scope of work. But make no mistake about it, I was going to be fair but firm, and at a certain point, it was non-negotiable. The work had to get done. We're a service provider. Again, we have to provide that service on a consistent basis. Crisis management. Have we all dealt with crisis over the past year? Absolutely. This is where Southwest comes into it. When you think of Southwest, what do you think of? I went to the Kellogg School of Management up in Northwestern, and Southwest was a case study. And I'm going to share with you one of the things that we learned, and I use this on a consistent basis, and it absolutely helps me. And I've said a lot in the last 20 minutes. If you take nothing else, please, please listen to this, okay? Because this is something I've used and I've seen it work. Okay, you have a crisis. You know, how do you handle that? Okay, you got 4 key components that you need to show in crafting your response, whether it's email, whether it's a video or interview, or it's a social media response, or it's a telephone call. And this is how I respond. The first thing you do is acknowledge the issue. Yes, we had a problem. Show empathy. We are sorry about the problem. Demonstrate expertise. Come up with a solution to solve the problem, and commitment. We're committed to seeing this through and making sure that this doesn't happen again, blah, 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 blah. If you show those 4 components when you craft your response to a crisis, it's going to help the customer have faith in you that you're managing the crisis. Again, that's something that I use on a consistent basis. And every time I'm, you know, that freight is damaged and they're ready to file a big claim, or the pallet got lost or something like that, which these things happen. And if you respond to it like that, it really goes a long way in the customer's mind. They know that they're not just a customer, that they're a partner. Okay, and we don't want just customers, because customers go for we want partners, that we have a vested interest in seeing you do well and excel. Okay, here's my last point, then I'm going to wrap up. Teleworking. Okay, I was against it. I said that's a bunch of millennial bullshit. They want to work at home, sit in their pajamas, and all this. And I say a cuss word to wake everybody up. That gets your attention usually, right? All right, and it's locker room. You guys were locker room talking, so hey, I can do it too. But I was against it, and we actually reverted to it because it was an easy mobilization for us, because we live in Florida and we had a hurricane preparedness plan. So the one thing we never do is buy a desktop computer, because at a moment's notice, a hurricane blows in. We wanted to make sure if something happened to our office, we can pack up our laptop, find a hotspot, Wi-Fi connection, and we're back at work moving freight. That's what we do. We're a bunch of freight guys up here in down here in Orlando, Florida. So we went there, and it went better than I actually thought it would, quite honestly. Because last year, you know, we had our best year ever in my 10 years. Again, that was more of a situation that we couldn't handle. And you guys all know that the revenue was a lot higher than the margins. But again, your overall top and bottom line, it was pretty strong in our industry if you were one of the bigger companies. But one of the processes that we put in place, and again, I don't know what your process is teleworking, and this seemed to work for us because it gave us transparency and visibility and accountability, it was a very simple 3 or 4 step process. In the morning, have everybody log in. Send your supervisor a note, you're online. If you're going to be gone from your computer for more than an hour, send your manager a note and let him know more than an hour and you're not at lunch. Send your manager and let him know. Then at the end of the day, send a recap of your day. 3 things that you accomplished, problems or issues you solved. So the manager, and you go over those with your managers. we've done that, and it's really been beneficial because we had some type of process. I'm not going to say it was the perfect process, but it worked. And what I found is that people like that autonomy of managing themselves, and they don't like to be micromanaged. And so, you know, sometimes things are going well, and in the beginning I was calling a lot of meetings and all this, and now it's like a coach. You know what? And the team's doing all right. I'm not going to call timeout. You know, just let them play. I'm gonna wrap up with this, guys. We're in a dynamic field. Everything that you wear, you see, you eat, you live in, you drive, it all has to be shipped and moved. You know, where was civilization created? On the Nile River, so you could move products. So you know what? It's over 45 million jobs in the United States that are directly or indirectly associated with the supply chain. We're moving 56 million tons of freight on a daily basis. In the NFL, they used to say, hey, go down, and if you make a mistake, just hit somebody, find work. Guys, if we can't find work right now in logistics, there's a problem. You're in the wrong field. So with that said, let's keep moving freight. Let's make sure our customers don't have to ask, where is my freight? Let's have fun and enjoy the process. Thank you for your time and consideration. And Keisha, even though I didn't make it out there, you owe me that trip to LA.
I do, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. That was great.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think we all owe you that trip out to LA. You were willing to be one of our keynote speaker last year, and it was about a year ago. This, as we speak, COVID pretty much took over the lives of everybody, and we appreciate your generosity and your scheduling and being so gracious with us and going ahead and meeting with us virtual. We're going to open up for questions. And Tony, I've heard a lot of things about the Dunkin'. I take it, do you have a franchise with the donuts?
Yeah, we had a franchise. We opened a second one, and then I sold both of them. I got in and got out. And I'll tell you why. One of the we were fortunate. We did very well, and I think they're doing even better now. But the one thing that was tough for me was the workforce. The young workforce was real. You got to be built a certain way to deal with that. And you know, I'm a little old school. You know, we're grinders. We do things. We come in, and you know, some of the kids today, they just might not show up. Oh well, something else came up. I found a deal on Groupon. I could go to to Florida for a week. So I got in and got out. It worked out very well for me. I'm pleased with it, and I will never own another franchise.
Dunkin' Donuts or any franchise?
Any franchise. Well, I say that, but I'm talking to some people about a little Starbucks opportunity. So, right?
It's a license to print money.
Well, you think about it. What do you pay for a cup of coffee? Because it costs us about 20 cents to make it. Do the math.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then when you get into the designer stuff, which is just a machine and milk, a latte or espresso.
Yeah. I'm allergic to $4 coffee. So
yeah.
I drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee at home.
Well, the funny thing about it now is that I actually go and buy everything and just mix my stuff together, because with COVID, I didn't want to go in and out of the coffee shops all the time. And now I'm kind of a barista.
Hi, Tony. Thank you so much. That was really inspirational. And I made some notes, and I just wanted to ask you, I think I missed one of the 4 components you were talking about when you were talking about Southwest, and you said, you know, identify the problem, admit to it, and come with a solution. But I think I missed a point, because you said there were 4.
It's a scale. First one is acknowledge the problem. Second one is show empathy.
Okay.
Third one is demonstrate expertise by providing solutions. And the last one is a commitment. Show the partner that you're committed to seeing it through. Again, every time I have an issue, I go back, and it's funny because I used to keep the scale in a folder, And now I just have it in my head. And as soon as it happens, I mean, I'm like, okay, and I make sure I hit all those points in the response. And like I said, a reasonable partner understands that type of communication.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just a comment on that. What I really like about that is you kept mentioning a reasonable partner. It's good to have a customer that is indeed a reasonable partner. Most good relationships between a vendor and a client is just that. It's you have someone that is a partner that's working with you to get to a goal. If a relationship's just one way, it's not going to be a very good relationship. So,
and I'll add to that, Jim, that you have to earn that. And you know, when you take that call late at night or early in the morning, or you solve that issue on a holiday, that's how you earn that that trust and that partnership level. And it becomes, I mean, we all know the saying, you ask a customer, is it service or price? It's always service until you get a high price. Mm-hmm. And then when you get a good price and the service fails, it's always service. So you're in a no-win situation. So you really need to have that understanding, and that they know that if something happens, it's beyond your control, that you're not just making a mistake and missing assignments.
Yeah, the customer's always right.
Absolutely. If they're not right, we do what? We make them right. Or we make them think that they're right. We make them feel that they're right.
Tony, did you have a big influx in any of the PPP products, or did you handle anything related to COVID, or?
Yes, we were fortunate. One of our partners, and they happened to be a minority-owned business, they were doing medical disposables. And he also happens to be my neighbor. He lives right next door. And they weren't Johnny-come-lately. They had been in the game for a while, and they had exponential growth, just contracts coming. So that really, where we had trouble was the containers, because a lot of times we'll use temps, but we couldn't use temps because we knew how our guys were managing COVID, but we didn't know what the temps were doing. So, I mean, hell, I had to roll up my sleeves and get in and slug some PPE around and help get it palletized and wrapped. And that's what I meant when I said, I truly meant that, hey, other duties as assigned, whatever it takes to get the job done. So we had that. We had another partner that it wasn't PPE, but they were a telephone headphone company out of the UK. And they had exponential growth, and it went, they were importing here, and then it started going cross trade, foreign to foreign. So we saw a lot of growth there. And then even with our Orange County school, when the school closed down and they started to open up, we did all the PPE deliveries. And again, I had to take some time out and just commend my guys, because you're walking into a situation you really don't know. But these guys, you're $15 to $20 an hour. You don't have a choice not to come to work. And again, they put on their mask and their gloves and their sanitizer and just went and got the job done. So I would encourage anyone that has drivers that had to, and even our warehouse team where everyone else could work home, the warehouse guys can't pack up their computer and go home. You can't pack up a forklift and take it with you and unload stuff in the warehouse. So if you haven't thanked your team for doing that, please do. And I go in at least once a month and make sure I buy those guys lunch and just let them know that, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. But the other thing I will say is that, and I've pointed this out to the team as well, you guys did all right. As a company, we got a little PPP. We had 1 month where we had, in last April of last year, where we were down a little bit, just a little under budget. After that, I think the fear of everything worn off, and everybody knows going into March, everybody was having a good start at first quarter. I mean, products were coming in, economy was rumbling. But we had that 1 month and we got a little PPE. So as a company, we benefited from that. But, the employees got a $1,200. Then they got, if they were under a certain, then they got another $600. They might get another $1,400. Then you got child tax credit. If you're married, you got that. And then at the end of the year, we didn't do the mid-year bonus because we usually do two of them a year. But we did the end-of-year bonus. And so I'm like, damn, you guys made out pretty all right, and our attitude going into it was, we're going to take the stimulus, we're going to follow the science, we're going to bust our backsides, and we're going to come out on top of this. And that was my message from day one, that, you know what, after we got over the initial shock of what's going on and teleworking and all this, and we settled in, it took us probably 30 days to get our footing. And then that was our approach moving forward.
Hey, Tony, I have a question for you. Take out your little crystal ball. What do you see the next big thing coming?
Well, the big thing that I see, and I think it's the gift that keeps giving, if you can get it, fund it, and that's government. Here in Orlando, Florida, the biggest contracting entity is not Disney, it's not Universal, it's PEO Stride. That's the modeling and simulation for the government. They do $3.5 billion in contracts a year. We were able to get some of that. It's a tough road to follow if you don't have a designation. It's just a hard shell to crack. But once you get in there, remember, in the good times, the government spending, in the bad times, they just got $1.9 trillion to disperse throughout the economy. So that's where we see the greatest opportunity for growth if we can master it. And again, we're in there, but we're not in there to the level I'd like to be. So what am I doing about that? I'm hiring I had an opportunity to pick up some big time salespeople, and you give them a nice commission structure and they're off and running. So that's our plan moving forward. Simultaneously, we saw a fall off in our hospitality and our convention center customers, but where that fell off, we picked up on the anything that was medical related, from imaging machines to the PPE to again, the telephonics, and a lot of electronics are being exported. And I think too, Audrey, one thing we have to know and understand from a geopolitical standpoint, I had an economist that came in with my banker, and we had a long discussion. And I asked him, I said, how are we positioned to move forward when China is manufacturing all the product and they're going down in in South America and Africa and the Caribbean, and they're building all the infrastructure? If they control the manufacturing and they build the infrastructure, they're controlling things. So what's in our best interest? To keep plowing money so we can manufacture things, because we all know that an import creates 1 or 2 jobs, but an export creates at least 2 to 3 times more jobs. So the more we can export, the better off we are. And I think there's going to be a newfound emphasis put on us actually starting to manufacture again and exporting. And you think about it as well, to produce something in China, it costs about 91% of what it would cost to produce it here. So as that gap slowly shrinks, we're going to see more exports, and you guys in the air freight and the ocean freight, and again, we're in all of it. That's what we want to see. That's where the opportunities, our greatest opportunities, lie in the government, in manufacturing, and exporting.
Thank you.
Tony, I have a question for you. You slightly touched on it, but it's something that's come up greatly last year, especially with the slowdown of mail getting to us. But financially, what our company's looking at growing to other areas. We are a final mile / air cargo trucker, and also now getting into drayage. In one of the aspects of actually maintaining and managing money, the getting money from your customers in a quicker fashion versus, USPS, and wiring money, depending on how large the customer is or how small the customer is, really is something that we're looking at greatly now.
Well, we're a small company. And again, when I went into logistics, I didn't know I was also going to be into banking, because we have to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know that, but I learned real quick that the first thing you do is you train your customers to what's coming.
I lost you.
We lost you.
We lost you. We can't hear you.
Did I go out?
Yeah,
You
you're
did.
good now.
This one.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I get this computer has a mind of its own. What I was saying is that I don't know where I picked off, but I said, again, train your customers. Have those upfront conversations with them prior to. Like, think about all the taxes and duties. At a certain point, we couldn't fund all the duties coming in. So we had to start talking to them and let them set up their own account so they could do it, or simultaneously we had to do a disbursement fee. And you start to talk to them up front about, hey, these are things that are out of our control. So again, we can't control the taxes and the duties, but what we can control is that communication and giving you enough time to start to prepare to deal with what's coming. And I think that's the best way to handle that, understanding that, it's a different way of operating for all of us, and we all have to be open to it. But again, it's like taxes. You know what? They want to have to pay those charges because they're moving freight. You want to have to pay taxes because it means you're making money. Then it's figuring out a loophole or two to not pay as many taxes. I get it. So again, you guys in California, we don't have any state taxes down here. Why do you think I live in Florida?
I actually represent a company that's in the East Coast, but I live in California.
Okay,
So I'm the
okay.
best of both worlds.
So yeah, when you start talking to them well in advance, I think they understand. And you give them, like you said, it's one thing when they think that we're as forwarders are just making off like bandits, and you start to say, hey, a lot of this duties and stuff, unless we have to just advance it, we put a disbursement fee on it. Otherwise, it's a pass-through. And as a matter of fact, you can pay it yourself and not even incur our 7% that we put on it. So that's how that's the best way to approach it. And like I said, I've seen it's worked for us, but it's never a comfortable conversation when a customer is going to get charged significantly higher than what they're used to paying.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, great receivables department will work with the customer. How do you want your bill? Do you want a PO number on it? Do you need a copy of the bill of lading? Do you need a POD? How do you want it electronically? Do you want it by mail? And if you make it easy for them, it's easy for them to write the check.
Well, and again, but you definitely utilize the ACH. I mean, that's just, we want to make things as user-friendly as possible for especially when it comes to getting paid. You know what? We take all credit cards. And you got the fees on the credit card, and I say, hey guys, just kind of inch it up a little bit to make sure we cover that. But yeah, you want to try to make sure you collect that money, because we know cash flow in our business. That's one of because the margins are slim, so to speak. I mean, we're not manufacturing, we're not making 100% margin. If you collectively over all different modes of transportation, if you're hitting a 22 to 25%, you're killing the game. At that point. I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing, but you know what? If we can get a 25% margin for the year, we're happy. And now it's a little tougher to do that because freight rates are just so high. You have to cut what you're doing to stay competitive.
Oh, Dave gets 40% or more on all his customers. He's killing them.
What kind of insurance is he selling them?
I'll give you his list. I'll give you the list of his clients in just a few minutes.
Very, very funny, Jim.
Wait, you can put him on the screen and the first man to call him.
There you go.
I was gonna say, Tony, 2025 on imports, because that's really good.
No. I said on all import, exports, and domestic mix and warehousing.
Because that import margin really knocks that down for us.
Yeah, just the killer right now. Yeah,
it's the killer. And I don't know about how your system works, but ours, magically includes those duty outlays in the margin, so that just really drives it down. No, we definitely separate the duties because we consider that a pass through, and then we count the disbursement fee. And again, we really don't want to disperse it. I mean, because you got credit at 4 or 5%, so it's a 2% margin, and we'd rather them handle their own duties. But again, we're service providers, so we have to be able to offer those services up. Yeah.
The other thing we've done too with the PPE is last year we hired a broker that's strictly on compliance. So he's spending a lot of time doing duty drawbacks for customers and simultaneously, handling the POAs, getting out in front of everything that's happening well in advance. So then when they're talking to our import manager, this is their second round of the conversation. So it kind of takes a lot of that off of her plate and lets her, go ahead and start getting that out.
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
This is Michael. First of all, I want to say your energy is awesome. And thank you very much for speaking for us. Speaking about payment, I wanted to see what's your take on cryptocurrency. It
You know,
seems like it's going bonanza.
With me, I'm a slow adapter to technology, and I use it when I have to. So we haven't gotten there yet. But again, I don't know that we'll ever go back to having everyone in the office, which I was against that. So I think too, once we see it.
We lost you again.
Oh, no.
Oh, we lost you again. We can't hear you.
We lost you again, yeah.
Sorry, good. I said Bitcoin. Can anyone give me a definition of Bitcoin? Well, we got people that, really, what is it? What is cryptocurrency? We don't even, it's a code on a piece of paper?
Yep.
Exactly what it is.
I don't know. So when it becomes commonplace, we'll adapt to it, but we won't be first in line. I just want to kind of see how it plays. Again, I would call the movie theater and listen to them run down the show times until they stopped doing that, and you had to go and book your tickets online. So again, I adapt when I have to. I don't want to be out front first in line, but we want to make sure we're offering those services.
Good job.
Michael, is your stock okay? Are you okay, Michael?
I hope so.
Okay, just checking. Okay.
Tony, I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
When it's all said and done and you look back, what do you want your point of legacy to be?
I think when you look at what they say, your legacy is you're remembered as long as someone says your name.
Right.
And it's funny because I think that one thing that really challenges me is when people say, I love my boss, okay? And then you go through all the different iterations of things that you have to go through with employees, and you try to be fair, you try to be firm, you go you go above and beyond. And sometimes you feel like that no matter what you do, someone's not happy. For instance, you give a bonus. If you don't give a bonus, everyone's upset. And when you give a bonus, it's usually never enough. So I guess I just want it to be that, we treated everyone fairly. I've got a group of people that I came in with. I told them at some point, we're going to sell the company. And my goal is for you guys to be millionaires. And so I'm working towards that for my core group that we brought in. And have fun in the process. And when somebody says, hey, H&M, it's something good. It's not something like, oh, that company. It's like, yeah, you know what? They've done a good job for us. We had a great process. And all of the majority, we're small enough that, we have a relationship with most of our customers. Again, we have grown to the point where I don't have a personal relationship with every single customer anymore. And I kind of miss that. I understand you can't, but I think that you need to make sure that part of your team has that relationship, and that if you go above and beyond and you let people know that my team, they love freight. I mean, it's like their baby. A lot of them don't have kids, so it's they take care of it, they guard it, and if you can just give that service on a consistent basis, it's good. And I think too, one of the things that I will always remember is that, our guys, again, they delivered through a pandemic when they didn't know what to expect. So when we have an opportunity to just say thanks to them, again, the bonuses go a long way, but a pat on the back and letting someone know how much you appreciate them, I think that goes even further.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony, what does H&M stand for, and what brought you to Orlando?
Well, I'll start with the latter first. I was playing in NFL, and I was up in Cincinnati in the winter, and one of my friends had me come down to Florida, and I never left. So that then you had no state taxes. So that back then, now they tax you in every city you play in and all kind of other kooky stuff. But back then you could come down here and you could, it was a cost savings. So it was a business decision.
A good one.
And the other thing is H&M. This is pretty funny. So remember, I was doing real estate, and so my ex-wife I started a company when she was like, well, and she had turned me on to flipping houses when I first finished playing. And she said that, hey, just name your company Home Notes and Mortgages. HNM, that's my daughter's initials, Hannah Nicole McGee. Homes, Notes, and Mortgages. I was like, great name. So it's HNM Enterprises. And then in 2010, when I got this opportunity, I said, man, I don't want to start another company because at least I can say I've been established for, 6 years. So it was HNN DBA HNM Global Logistics.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
So by the way, my daughter is an employee. She doesn't come to work very often. She's in college, but she says, but it's fun. It's fun.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Please.
Now, thank you. I have to go. I have to get back to work, but thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Sherry.
I really appreciate it. And you guys got a great group out there, and we're utilizing the services. So we appreciate everything you guys do and fellow forwarders. The way I always feel about it is the better you guys do, the better it is for our industry. So you make us look good, we make you look good. If you need something here, we're here. And if we need something out there, we'll definitely reach out.
Yeah, but are you hiring?
Right on. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Let me just, for the group, let me tell everybody that our next event is April 15th. It's a virtual
Tax
event.
day. What a fitting day.
Yep. And if you, hopefully it'll be a reminder to get your taxes done. And if after you do that, you could come see us here online. And we're going to have, it's a cybersecurity featuring Keith Sanchez of Avalon Risk Management and Maylita Sullivan Walker. She's a treasury consultant from Citibank. So if you haven't done your taxes, you may be in trouble that day and we may know it. So please join us here on our next virtual event. Again, we thank you, Mr. Tony McGee, and a special thanks to our very own Southwest board member for putting this together for us. We really appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure having everybody on board. So on behalf of Keisha, thank you very much. And for your hard work, and our team, Michael, for setting everything up, and everyone, thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.